Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to episode 2 of this secret series that goes alongside the free workshop 10 ways you can welcome your ideal clients without being a big sleazy pants. This is all about not waiting to be discovered. I know that moment so well when you finally press go on your idea, your business, the next version of you. And I certainly remember in the beginning doing the website build, in a very simplistic drag and drop way. And each time I did it, certainly the first time I did it, I would do something and then I'd run through into the living room and ask Matt to refresh the page. And I'm like, can you see it? Can you see a paragraph and a picture? Because obviously I had no idea what I was doing because I was not a designer. And I remember that feeling of getting something live was such a big hurdle. And finally, I got there. And I hear this so often with my clients, like, oh my goodness, I've done it. Finally, I've completed the project and I've launched it and it's live and it's out there and I feel so good. And yes, we absolutely should celebrate those moments and realize that closing that chapter opens up the next chapter, which is when we reveal ourselves to the world and we welcome people to come to the party. So essentially, doing all of that behind the scenes stuff is you preparing for the party. Once you say that the party has started, you want people there. And ideally, you want your people there. And over the last 25 years, I have certainly realized that although those biographies that I used to read when I was a kid, where somebody would I always remember the Shola Amma story that she was just playing her guitar, singing at a train station, and suddenly a record executive came along and was like, oh my goodness, you're amazing. Have you got a record deal? No. Okay, great. Come and sign on the dotted line. And there are a few stories like that. Kate Moss in JFK Airport is another one that has just sprung to mind. And I remember as a kid thinking, in this village where I lived, nobody knows anything about my industry. Nobody knows anything, or they certainly didn't reveal themselves to know. Nobody can really help me. My mum and dad can give me lifts, and obviously because I was a child, they were paying for things as well. But that mentorship, that unlocking of things, it wasn't there. And already I realize if my children want to go into similar industries to me, they're automatically going to have a heads up because I have an insight. Equally, if they want to become brain surgeons, I will have nothing to give them. I'll give them a lift and I'll make them nice food, but scientific wise, I won't be able to do that much. Anyway, I realized that very early on as a kid. And so knowing that, I got into the habit and I built the muscle of asking questions, of finding ways, of coming up with solutions, of doing the imperfect thing. And not just waiting. And so I essentially became a super geek of my industry, of understanding what people were doing. And I'd have a little notebook and I'd write it all down. And I really became obsessed with it because I had that dawning that nobody was coming to happen to discover me. And so therefore I had to be proactive and make it happen in my own way. And that is the way that you need to see finding your ideal clients. Gone are the days where we can just put a site up live with a few keywords and people will just automatically find us. If you notice how quickly people are scrolling all the time, sorry, there's my phone as well, scrolly, you have to find a way where you can connect with those people. I also recognized this when I left drama school in 2003. We did a West End showcase, and this was our moment to essentially get signed by an agent or land our first audition or land our first job. And I was really thrilled to do all three. In fact, I booked 2 jobs back to back from this showcase. However, this did not happen by accident. This did not happen by luck and like, oh, how convenient, how great. It was a strategic business decision. I thought about what I wore. I thought about the pieces that I did. I made sure that I had certain photographer. I put together my CV in a certain way, and I did it to match the kind of roles that I would be suitable for. For example, as a 21-year-old, naturally northern, I guess like girl next door type character, I wasn't going to position myself as Lady Macbeth because I wouldn't be playing Lady Macbeth at that stage. And I think this is what we need to do in terms of attracting our ideal clients. We really need to see how we can market ourselves so they get it, so they understand it, so it makes sense to them. I also followed that on by realizing I still had to continue the momentum of putting myself out there. And I always say this phrase where I said to my flatmate, I better crack on and I started writing letters and sending them out because I said, well, Steven Spielberg doesn't know my landline. And that was that time, 2003, we had a landline in our flat that our parents used to phone us on or our grandparents used to phone us on. And there wasn't, I think I had an email address, but I certainly wasn't proficient. I was writing letters and sometimes I would go into Soho and I would hand deliver them because I just didn't have the money for all of these stamps. So what we need to think about is who are those people that you are trying to attract and how can you get in front of them? I know the easier on paper option is to sit back and wait and hope for the best. But in this day and age, right now, I think you're going to be waiting a long time. And also, we know it ourselves. When we see what we want, when it's exactly positioned in a way that you go, oh my goodness, it's like it was waiting for me. That's when we're more inclined to take notice and then go ahead and become a client. Fourthly, it's all going to be easier if you go first. When you go first, you're going to build your confidence. You're going to have that sense that you're on the right path. You're going to have that sense that you are building momentum and that it is all moving in the right direction. If you wait, sometimes you can soak up that energy of nothing is happening. Now, let me give you a very basic analogy. In our old house, we used to live on a long road. I think it had like 400 houses or something like that. And there were probably 4 or 5 bus stops along that road. And sometimes I would be standing and I would look at the bus and I'd go, oh my goodness, it's 12 minutes. And that, you know, if you live in London and you live on a popular bus route, that's quite a long time. And the amount of times I would make a decision to move and just walk to the next bus stop, because that sense that I was moving in the direction that I wanted to go in was really, really helpful to me. Because the longer I stood at that bus stop with people going, oh my goodness, what if the bus never comes? Oh, I did hear something about it. Maybe they've got roadworks up there. Maybe they've closed the road. Maybe there's a bus driving strike today. Maybe. And suddenly I was consumed with all that negativity. Whatever you can do, especially once again, in this climate, make a move and you go first. It will always serve you well. Finally, I want you to go for the ease. I want you to do one thing really well immediately and build that momentum. When we do that, when we build that momentum and we have that sense that things are happening, we trust ourselves and we build that muscle within ourselves. And what happens then is we have more capacity for all the other things, rather than flitting from one thing to another and never actually finishing it. Your relationship with yourself in this time, trusting yourself, is going to be so, so important. So make sure that you take it seriously. Go for the ease, go for the things that you know that you can do right now. I always think about that if I ever have to do a quick run to the shop with my kids at 5 to 5, which is something I never want to be doing, especially like on a Friday night. They're both tired, just want to come in and watch TV and crash out, and me the same. But I just want things to be simple. However, I know if I go to the shop and I buy a packet of sausages and I buy some crispy potatoes, we make the crispy potatoes because my daughter got a crinkle cutter for Christmas, which she absolutely loves and adores. I know that that's going to be a great dinner. I've usually got some veg in the freezer or in the cupboard, or some beans, and it's a really simple, easy way of doing it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Sometimes you can just do the basics. If you haven't watched the workshop, check it out. It's linked down below. If you know that it's absolutely time to build your digital disco so you are welcoming on a regular basis your ideal clients, customers, audience, come and check out your digital disco. There are 3 ways to join, and if you add the word magic at checkout, you will be able to save 20%. Make sure you're subscribed to the playlist, and I'll see you next time. Lots of love.